Hey guys, welcome to the CO visit. Colin here. Now it's my trusty coffee and my shirt that says Honduras. So right off the bat, just a little warning. Okay, if you're one of those uh, sensitive people that doesn't want to see me wearing a shirt like this, shut the video off now. So reason why, when I'm at home, mind you, when I'm at home, I wear shirts like this because this time of the year is very warm, very hot. Today it's 91 degrees and like a billion% humidity. And we get these, during the rainy season, you get systems moving in, and there's lots of pressure and lots of clouds, and the humidity is just unbearable. So that's why I dress lightly when I'm at home. That's why. Okay, so you got to open your mind a little bit. Anyway, thank you for clicking on this video. Remember, you can like, subscribe, become a member. There's super thanks. There's all those things. If you decide to support the channel, we appreciate it always. So what I want to talk about today, if you saw the community post, is what happens to, as I've always talked about, the saddest possible stage and category to be in as an ex-witness is the POMI, the physically out, mentally in. It's a person who is out of the organization, yet their mind is still there, right? In their mind, they're still a witness, and they defend it, and they actually try to preach to people. And even though, interestingly, they left, or they faded away, or they got disfellowshipped, or whatever happened, and they have no intention of going back, and yet they never learn anything more. They never investigate about the organization. They keep defending it, which is just really absurd, right? So anyway, what I wanted to talk about was the analyzing that mindset, and a particular part about that mindset that really is the one that allows these cults to exist. It allows them to exist because it feeds off of these kind of people specifically. And really, it's the same thing with, like, the way political parties and things like that are able to draw people in and have them so divided, and people that just they defend this political party and to the death and all this stuff. And it's the mentality. And I'll start out, I guess, to illustrate this mentality by telling a little story, a true story about one of the conversations, many conversations that I always talk about here on the channel with my dad, because he's Pomy. And my dad's gone through a little bit of transformation. He's found out things on his own. But, I've sent him over the years videos from jw.org, from the broadcasting. That's all new to him. He's never seen any of that before that. And I showed him all the changes that happened. And, I said, hey, watch this. This is what they're talking about. So everything about, people from Noah's Day being resurrected in Sodom and Gomorrah, and then last minute repentance, and the change on the beards, and no counting time, and the dress code change for men and women, and the kind of the little change on how they can say hi to disfellowship people and all that kind of stuff. And more recently, the extra, or whatever it was, additional education. And so one time we were talking about this stuff, and the fact that, my mom and dad left the organization years ago, way longer than me. They left the organization, never looked back. And I'm talking to my dad about it, and, I asked him why, because, my dad expressed to me later on that he was talking about that, how he never wanted to be a witness. He never believed it, but he, because of the pressure of my mom, and my dad's always kind of been a people pleaser, he went along with it. And I asked him why. I want to know why. Why did you go along with that? And why did you make us, me and my brothers, go along with that, and raise us that way and everything? And, and then he was like, it doesn't matter, son. It's in the past. That's what I put on it's in the past. Let's just forget about it now. We have each other. We blah, blah, blah. And I said, boy, it's really convenient. How convenient for converts like my mom and dad to just brush it off, right? That's all they did. He just brushed it off. Well, it doesn't matter now. We're not in it anymore, and it's past, and let's just forget about it. And I'm like, I can't just forget about it. Okay? Yes, it's in the past, maybe for you, but for those of us who, like I said, are born in, it's not in the past. It's an integral part of who we are. Because we were raised in it, all three of us were raised in it since the time we were born. And my parents, as witnesses, were quite strict. Because we always had to be the ones that were responsible. And we always had to be on time. We were early. And we very rarely ever missed meetings. And my dad was the one there with the belt. If, we didn't want to go, and you're going to the meeting and get ready. And, and there was no questioning that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You were going to the Kingdom Hall. And on Saturday, get up, you drag us out of bed, sometimes flip our beds over and stuff like that. We're going out in service. So in the snow, in the rain, and that doesn't matter. Get up, we're going to the hall. And for assemblies and conventions and all that stuff. And so it really kind of irked me that for him, it's just so easy just to say, hey, let's forget about it. It's in the past now. And I understand the sentiment of my oldest brother years ago when he had a conversation with my dad too about it and stuff. And my oldest brother was like, what do you expect me to do? Just walk away now? It's like, you raised us this way. Like when I guess my brother kind of pushed back on it, which I don't completely agree with them either. I think it was about the shunning, and he was like, what do you expect? This is how you raised us. You raised us to do this. And you know what? He's right. I mean, I understand. I don't necessarily agree with him continuing to do it, but I understand where he's coming from. Because he's right. You can't just, one day to the next walk away from something and then tell your children who you forced to do it that, well, it's just in the past now. Let's just forget about it. But that's a real typical attitude from people of that era, of that generation. Let's just not talk about it anymore. And yet we're the ones, the children, that they forced to go there and raise doing this stuff, that we have to live with the fallout of that, the consequences of it. Because I told my dad, I said, all those years, we could have avoided so many things. We could have had birthdays and celebrated Christmas. You could have made it different. Okay, if you had bad experiences in your childhood, you could have made it different for us. You could have made it a happy time and a joyous time. And I know he would have if they would have done that. But we didn't have that. So now our experience, I told him, I said, our experience was completely different from you. Because you were never a witness before. You came into it later on when you were an adult. Big difference. And then you can just walk away and say, well, I can go back to all that stuff before because I did it before. We didn't. Okay? So that mindset, like I said, where POMIs go from, first of all, they go from rabid apologists where they're defending the Watchtower to all of a sudden they go to this other extreme where they don't want to talk about it anymore. And yet they won't look at the facts about the organization. And that's what I told my dad, like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about it anymore. None of them have it right and all this stuff. And it's like, well, no, the witnesses don't have it right. Okay, I don't care about everybody else. You see, it's the same mindset as all these other witness trolls that come on my channel. It's the same thing. Oh, why don't you talk about the other churches? They were doing it. It's the same thing. It's like, we don't care about the other churches. We know that. We're talking about witnesses. Okay? that organization because they're the ones that said they didn't do that stuff. That's why. Okay? So, it just, I said, and by not talking about it, you're allowing them to continue doing what they do. And that's the exact kind of mindset which I don't understand, the mindset of people who will not look at facts. And that's why I say it happens with politics. If you look at facts, then you need to do something about it. You need to change. And if you find out something is not true or you've been lied to, then you need to change. And not just when someone shows you the facts. Well, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. You know what that is? Pride. Pride. And it's willful ignorance, which is complete stupidity. See, those people lack the ability to accept, humbly, to accept something when they say, oh, this was wrong. I was lied to. Wow, that's amazing. And it's not your fault. If you were lied to, it's not your fault. Okay? There are millions of people that fall into these groups, into these cults. Okay? It's not a person's fault. But when you're showed the truth about something, that something is not what they're saying, then you need to accept it and change. But they won't do that. They won't do that. Which is just, for the life of me, I cannot, and I don't understand, being his blood, the same genes, and my brothers too, why they don't accept that stuff. How is it possible that I'm the only one that came out of that being able to critically think, even when I was a witness? I just don't get it. I don't get it. You know, but I think this is a warning, guys. It's a warning to everybody out there, and especially if there are witnesses watching this channel and you have younger children, you know, things like that. You have to, if you one day leave the organization and you take your family out and all that, you need to talk to your kids. You need to talk to them, and you need to help them understand that, you know what, I was fooled by it too. I found out this stuff I didn't know. Okay. And if I would have known, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I made you guys do this and do this and do this and all this stuff and forced you to do this stuff and go to the Kingdom Hall. If I would have known these facts before, I would have never done it. Okay. And, you know, it's the same thing where we talked about before, like with the governing body. A little apology goes a long way. And I did that with my daughters, especially with Cosette. Donna, I did too. I apologized to her too, and we talked a lot about the organization, but she never got baptized, to her credit. My oldest daughter had enough brains to not ever get baptized. They were pressuring her, just like my younger daughter, but she was a little bit older, and she was like, no, I don't want it. But with Cosette, because Cosette had a lot worse situation and pressure, you know, we talked a lot about it too. She was here on the channel with me. And, you know, I apologized to her too and said, you know, I wish I would have never raised you guys in that. And I'm sorry. I really am. You know, but, you know, we talked about it before, and I helped her in all the ways that I could to walk away from it. So those of you that do that, you can't just take the easy way out and tell your kids, well, it's over now, I just don't want to talk about it. No, you need to explain things to them. Okay? So anyway, people who are not open to learning period, and looking at facts and accepting the truth about things, it's a dangerous type of personality, dangerous type of person, because they're the ones that tend to just step back and be like, you know what, I don't want to get involved. It's in the past. And so by omission, they allow things to happen. They're the people that stand aside and don't do anything, which is even worse. They're worse than the people who are in. You can't blame the people who are in. I expect active witnesses to defend their religion. That's a given. Of course, they believe it. Okay, but once you leave and you're never going to go back, why would you keep defending it? All you're doing is, and then by being silent, you're allowing them to continue on. while we're the ones out here holding the line, calling Watchtower to accountability. Well, I hope this information has resonated always with some of you, and any active witnesses watching this make you think a little bit. So thank you guys for always supporting and being here. Be blessed, everybody. See you in the next one.